Okay, let's do this. This is chapter 6, homework number 2. Um, number 15, letter A. We're going to solve for y, so keep in mind that we're focusing in on the letter y, which means everything else must go. So you need to, first of all, get rid of the 8x, which is going to be, you're going to get rid of it by subtracting ax from both sides. Okay, and when you do that, your x's will cancel out, your 8x will cancel out, and you will be left with 4y equals, right? But now you cannot combine the 2 and the negative 8x. So the best you can do is call it 2 minus 8x, or you can call it negative 8x plus 2. However you want. I'm going to go ahead and leave it as 2 minus 8x, just so that because I know a lot of you guys are just going to see it that way, so we're just going to go with that. And then now we're going to finish this off by getting rid of that times 4, which is going to be divided by 4. So which means everything gets divided by 4. You can do it like this separately, or you can do it all together, or you can do it all together like this, divided by 4. Okay, it doesn't matter how you do it, but you just got to do it. Okay, by doing that, your 4's will cancel, and now you have just y. That's what you're aiming for. So y is equal to what, right? So first you're going to look at 2 divided by 4. If you do it this way, 2 divided by 4 is going to give you 1/2. Okay, and then there's a minus in the middle. Then now you're going to look at 8x divided by 4, or 8 divided by 4, and don't forget the x. So 8 divided by 4 is 2, and we got to put on the x. So that's your answer. Okay, so same thing. I'm just not going to talk as much for the second one. Solving for y again. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of that minus that 12x. So minus 12x. Okay, that's going to cancel out. 3y equals, and then we're going to write it as, and this time around, let's write it as negative 12x plus 7. You can see what I just did. Okay, so I wrote the bottom part, the x first, then I added on that 7. I'm going to go ahead and divide it by 3. I'm going to go ahead, this time let's do it like this, right? Because some of you guys do it this way as well. So when you divide it by 3, you get y equals, that's what we're after. Negative 12x divided by 3 is, or you can say negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. Don't forget the x. And that's 7 divided by 3. Okay. We can leave it as a improper fraction, 7/3. Okay, that's it. Number 16. Solve each equation for a variable. Check your solution if possible. Okay. So I'm going to go through this. First, we're going to combine the 8a and the a together, and then we're also going to combine 6a and the 2a together. Okay. So 8a and the a, basically there's a 1 in front. That's going to give you 9a minus 3. Copy it down. And then the 6a minus 2a is going to give you 4a minus 3. Okay. And you can work it any way you want. I'm going to go ahead and I usually solve for the a's for the variable first. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 4a because I want them to go together. Okay, and by doing that, I will have 5a minus 3 equals negative 3. Then I'm going to go ahead and try to get rid of my numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and add 3, which will give me, this will cancel, but unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, this cancels also, which means there's nothing left. So you have 5a equals 0. And you're going to divide by 5 because you still want to solve for a, so the 5's cancel. And at the end of the day, you get a equals 0 right there. All right, so answer is a equals 0. All right, next one. This one looks a little bit more daunting. Let's go ahead and try to solve for the x. Let's get rid of that plus 1. So we'll do a minus 1. All right, by doing that, the plus 1 minus 1 cancels. We will have x over 2 equals 6 minus 1 is 5. And now you got to figure out how to get rid of that divided by 2. To get rid of divided by 2, you would actually multiply by 2. Multiply by 2. Okay, and by doing that, your divide by 2 and multiply by 2 cancels, and that's going to leave you with x equals and figure out what 5 times 2 is. All right. All right. On the bottom, letter C, we're going to go ahead and, like I mentioned earlier, I usually like to put my my variables together. So I'm going to go ahead, and because it's already separated, I like to keep my variables positive. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and make it negative, because so I'm going to go ahead and start with subtracting 12d, and this is usually what most of you guys would do also. Okay, and that's going to cancel these. So you're going to be left with, don't forget your negative, 4 equals, and 10d minus 12d makes a minus 2d. So at this point, you're going to go ahead and divide by negative 2, so you can get rid of that negative 2. So divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. And by doing that, your negatives will cancel, and also your 2's will cancel, leaving you with just a d. Okay? Now you just got to figure out what negative 4 divided by negative 2 is. That's your answer. Okay. Let's go ahead, and like I mentioned earlier, I like to take care of my variables first. So I'm going to go ahead and do a minus 2y, minus 2y. You're going to end up with 8y plus 6 equals negative 34. And you're going to go ahead and get rid of that plus 6 by subtracting 6. Okay. So now you have 8y equals, and you got to figure out what negative 34 minus 6 is, which is negative 40. And divide by 8, because we need to get rid of that times 8. So divide by 8, and you have your answer, whatever negative 40 divided by 8 is. Okay. That's all.